have a big problem of air pollution in Monterrey. Third is to increase density, something around 30% in the next 15 years. And fourth is to increase public transportation in 30%. Of course, it's very easy to put it, it's very complicated to.
So, sorry, before.
Yes.
This concept of Nuevo León, I think there's private and public participation.
Yes.
Do you include, I mean, users and citizens are part of this consejo?
Let's leave that
Yes,
for the next session.
Carlos is going to talk a lot about it.
Okay.
I'm a consultant of Consejo Nuevo León, but not a part of the
We
council.
go to the details for.
Yeah, he's going to talk 2 hours about it. One second thing that is happening, that is changing the way things are, is the market tendencies. In Mexico, for many, many years, you say a new home, a new marriage. New home, a new marriage. Or a new marriage, a new home. There was almost perfect equivalent. Now is no more. The rate of marriages is dropping, and there is a lot of people having new homes. And this spread is related with 3 major tendencies. One is the amount of divorce that has tripled in the last 20 years. It's not a moral thing, it's just a market problem. People who divorce need something different, not a single housing family house, a home. So this is the divorce, the growth in divorce rate in Monterrey is changing a lot of things. Second thing is, ¿cómo se llama? Unión libre? It's not free union. No, but it's not free union. Consensual union couples. Yes, someone translated it. There is a big growth in consensual union couples. Unión libre in español. And that is growing very, very fast. And it changes the market, it changes all the structure of the real estate, because, well, they're not married, they're living together, the price of mortgage, well, is not the same. It is not good or bad, it's just different. And we have to create new policies to address this. And the third is millennials. You are all millennials, so I have to say good things about it. Millennials, not all, but about 40 to 50% of millennials don't like to buy property.
Don't like?
To buy property.
Because we don't want to afford it.
Well, you can't afford it, and you are not willing to stay, to settle in one place because the world is your place.
That doesn't mean that they don't want to buy as an investment. You just don't want to be tied to a place.
And that's statistics, and statistics is always lying.
Investment was not the problem. It was buying to live.
Buying to live.
Yes, and millennials like other things. Millennials don't like cars, for example. The car rate acquisition is going up. For example, you don't like cars, and they can look at.
And I am not millennial.
Not from Monterrey.
Millennials don't like cars; they like Uber. Millennials want to live downtown. Millennials don't have enough money to live downtown because downtown is expensive, because vertical construction is more expensive if you don't have the right policies for parking and things like that. So it's a new world that we have to understand and to create the right policies for. One of the things that the federal government started 5 years ago was the perímetros de contención, contention perimeters policy. They say, we cannot continue growing horizontally. So if you want a subsidy, you have to build inside this perimeter. We cannot, if you want to build 25 kilometers from the city, it's your problem. But if you want a subsidy, you stay here. And so far has been working. Those are the projects that have been developed in the last years. However, we see there are some that don't care for the subsidy.
And most of them are at the periphery of the border.
Oh yes, because of the price of land. Some of them are downtown so far. And yes, some of them. The image doesn't have.
What is the red and the blue?
Okay. The facility to get the subsidy. If you have a project inside the red area, you get the subsidy first than anyone else. In the blue, in the green, second, and in the blue, third.
So,
And most of them are in the blue because it's where land is cheap.
what type of subsidy is that?
It's about
Housing subsidy.
it's about well, $4,000.
Housing subsidy.
Yes, housing. Yes.
And this was done by the federal government for all the metropolitan region.
For all the cities. For all the cities. However, with the economical crisis of the country, this subsidy has been shrinking.
But also the definition of the blue part is ridiculous.
Let me tell you. Oh, I had so many discussions with my friends in Cerrato.
Yes.
Well, in Monterrey is not so bad. You know, I do planning all over the country, and I have cases that I say, how can you do that? You know, they put some red just by a refinery. I say that it's forbidden to have almost this. Well, it was very bad.
The definition of the blue one is that you have to be close, like 500 meters or something from a job source. That means that if you have a shop, like a Oxxo, that's supposed to give, that's supposed to be enough jobs for a 500 meter radius.
Yes.
That's
Well,
stupid. It's a middle
it's a little bit more complicated. But anyway, what I agree is that it was a good idea, very badly implemented. But in any case, it helped to stop.
I didn't get how the subsidy works. So you said that if a developer wants to build in that area, the municipality or
No, the federal government gives you a subsidy.
government is going to pay 4,000
Yeah, for example.
to the developer.
No, to the owner. For example, you make 3 minimum wages, okay? And with that, you can buy a home that costs $10,000 or $9,000, okay? But you can have a subsidy of $4,000 additional. So you can buy a better home with that subsidy, okay? That's the way it works. So all the developers want to have those subsidies for their buyers because they can make homes that are more expensive and make more money. And if they are outside the subsidy area, they don't sell because everybody is going for the subsidy.
If they target the relatively poor.
Yes, the poorest. Yeah.
If you do luxury, then you just.
No. It works. It doesn't work for luxury. It only work for low income, and it's been growing a little bit to the lower part of middle income.
And how was the red area? How were the red areas defined?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Schools and jobs.
Schools and jobs. Okay.
They have to be close to schools and jobs. The second one has to be.
Okay.
But they use buffers.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you use GIS?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You put a GIS buffer.
I can show you.
That's what they did.
Yes.
It's very stupid.
But if you look at.
It's not stupid. Come on. From
No,
what
it
was
is-
happening before, it was like
It is
Well,
stupid.
5 miles ahead.
Because the colors
What was
are.
happening before was stupid.
Yeah, the colors look fine,
Right.
but if you overlap this on a satellite photo, you will find that that underneath the blue areas, there's nothing. It's still the middle of nowhere.
Yes, and let me tell you, Monterrey is not so bad. For example, in Juarez, you can find a place where it's very good for, from an urban planner point of view, it's a very good place to develop. And you cannot develop there because it's outside the buffer. But you can build in El Paso, Texas.
So, the federal government prepared these plans.
Yes.
They didn't send them to the municipalities or to the state for any feedback.
Yeah, exactly. And they
No feedback.
no feedback, just buffer.
That's it. And then
And that was 5 years ago. I said, okay, the first year, okay, but why don't you spend a little bit of money to see if that is right or wrong? That's the problem. But anyway, even if the technical solution is wrong, at least it's a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction.
But also the other thing is that there's not enough difference between the blue and the red and the green subsidies.
The difference
it
is...
doesn't make a difference. The difference between the subsidies is
Oh,
not
yes.
proportional to the difference in the
Yes,
prices.
you're right.
So that's not going to make people decide to choose a house in the red or...
Yeah, the difference is only the timing, the timing to get the subsidy. That's, you know.
like how quickly they will see your priority.
But at least, you know, what I think we can improve this,
Yes.
but it's going in the right direction. So it's a policy we support, although we criticize, but it's a good criticism. Something else is we started having subsidy policy for rental terminals. That's important. It's very low. We needed much more. Mexico, it's a property owner country. It's one of the one of the countries with the highest property owner percentage in Latin America, and even more than the United States and in Europe,
In the world.
perhaps. And that's bad because of millennials. They have no rental is too expensive. No, it's bad because people's mobility is important for increasing their income, and also because if you bring people from abroad, they need rental. So anyway, that's a good policy that is just starting. It's very, very slow, but it's going in the right direction. Okay. The third is the new legislation. Monday we had a big forum about this new legislation. There,
Four of them were in your section.
I'm one of the ones who are heading the movement, not against this legislation, but against some articles. And we're trying to move. It's not going to be easy, but anyway. This new General Ley General de Asentamientos Humanos also goes in the right direction, but there is technical problems. And we're not against the law, we're against the technical problems that we're trying to solve. I hope the Congress people hear us. And first thing is to enforce metropolitan governments. That's one of the main problems, I think, in Mexico and perhaps in Latin America. For example, Bogotá, it's a city with alcalde mayor. Although Bogotá has a lot of problems, but the alcalde mayor deals with the metropolitan. I think there's someone from Colombia here.
Yeah, from Colombia, Bogotá doesn't have a metropolitan area. That's one of the big.
Pero tiene un alcalde mayor.
From Bogotá, the 8 million, but the 12 million around, the 4 million extra, they
Okay.
have their own mayors.
Okay, but at least
There's one city.
70% of the city has some control. Here, there is 17 cities. There is no one city that has control of more than 10% of the population. So that's something important that is good from this legislation. To limit the urban sprawl, it reinforces the thing we said before. Promote concentrated city, promote vertical housing that Astrid was talking about. Mixed use, public space, public transportation, and pedestrian and cycle transportation. So these are the main things of the new legislation. That as the other things, it goes in the right direction, not as fast, and many times with a lot of good ideas, not a lot of money behind.
What are you against of?
It takes, well, two things. One, it forces densification and mixed use everywhere. And as an urban planner, I think that densification and mixed use has to be where it has to be, not everywhere. Because if you densify a city, for example, if you put a building, a high-rise building here, high-rise building here, high-rise building here, high-rise building here, you solve no problem. You are just creating problems with the neighbors, but you don't solve the mobility problems. Because in order to solve the mobility problem, you have to increase the IPK, the Índice de Pasajeros por Kilómetro. And for that, you need strategic densification. That's one of the things. The second thing is for legal aspects, because they say that to make clausurar una obra, to close a house, you have to go to a tribunal. To close a construction, you have to go to a tribunal. So I mean, everybody is going to do whatever they want. But those are very technical aspects of the law. But the law goes in the right direction as well. Sorry.
So, but on the densification thing, I think it's a chicken and egg problem, because in some ways, like increasing densification, it also helps you solve your mobility problem, because then you know where to concentrate, like how you're going to transport people to one area rather than continuing to have to transport people from multiple areas. So I think, right, I mean, I understand when you say strategic densification, but I think densifying is already a first step to a transport. Like, so
yes, but densify with not like that, because the market is very stupid. The market is not, and it's not social.
So stupid. It's smarter than the legislation.
So if I understand you correctly, you are against national or federal government to tell you where to densify, and that's what the law is.
No, we agree that it's good to densify, but we have to densify where donde hay aptitud urbana, where there is urban aptitud.
Whereas, but the densifying decisions still at the local level.
Yes, but the federal law says, like, you know, you must have this kind of zoning everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if the municipality comes and
So they are taking the decision to densify.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry.
I mean,
they are taking the decision of the.
you can
That's
do-
what you are.
well, you can have an interpretation like that, and the municipalities are afraid, you know, like they will win in the court. I mean, the developers will win in the court some decision like that, you know, like they can, as he said, they can do whatever they want in this matter. That's why the municipalities are afraid, for example.
And you know, when you work with people in a city, as we have, the city is a place where there is a lot of tension, and there is a lot of fighting, sometimes even real fighting. And you don't, at least in my point of view, if you want to have good quality of life, you have to have as low tension between people as possible. So it's important, you know, to work with people when you do a plan, and to decide with them, and to discuss, and to find, and it's much more complicated. Participate planning is complicated, but the result is better. That's what I think. But
There's another example of some of the fails of this law. In Mexico, we have 700 municipalities. During the last 40 years, only 323 have develop a plan, an urban plan. And in this law, they asked that in the next year, all the 700 municipalities need to have one plan. So it's logic what they ask. It's just a little
But see,
example.
logic maybe is the time frame, but they have
Sure.
to put a time frame.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what.
It's too pressure. It's just
Sure.
So you have a lot of
Yeah, but
Oh yeah.
you go to your
I
to
took
the
a
program,
on this right.
I
it's
took
just
a
a
brief look
form of
from
pressuring.
The view is correct.
One discussion.
I'm finished.
I took a brief look on the law and I searched the word metropolitan. There is 35 mentions and any enforcement. Just the governments should share this responsibility, so I guess that they are not addressing this problem.
Because it's a general law. It cannot, it's not a federal law. It's, general law only has the attribution of like encouraging them to coordinate among the different levels. And general law cannot say.
But they didn't also put any time.
Yes, in the previous legislation, they didn't exist the metropolis. So now they exist. That's a big step. And second, it allows you in the state level to put some instruments to enforce it. Okay? We have very little time. The new spirit, you know, there's a market for high rise. When I started studying markets, housing markets about 25 years ago, only 6% of people would live in a high rise. Now it's 32. There's still much more people who wants to live in single family, in single homes. But this is moving. And it's moving thanks to millennials, thanks to divorced people, thanks to, ¿cómo se dicen los? Unión Libre, and so on and so on. But it's moving. And this is what I think talk about strategic densification. This is something I've been working on. There is some areas in the city, you don't see it very well, but there are some areas in the cities that have qualities to be densified. Because, for example, they have public transportation, or they are close to public transportation, or there is projects to build public transportation. So these areas are good for densification. Not everywhere, because we have little money. We have to invest that money where it is worth the most. If you make densification here, for example, well, thanks, but it doesn't help the city. It helps your income as a developer, perhaps, but not the city. So this is one of the strategies. The image, as I tell you, the colors are not so good. This is one of the strategies. This is a very simple thing that we're trying to encourage, and try also to create what we call sistemas urbanos, minor urban systems, to make each one of these densification area a system itself where at least 50% of your needs are solved there. Not everything, but 50. 60 would be beautiful, but 50%. And also with higher buildings, and also outside the city. We have a friend in the Consejo de Nuevo León who says, no, nothing outside the city. But I said, there is 400,000 people living there. I mean, we have to do something for them. And so we at least myself as a consultant for Consejo Nuevo León, this is my proposal, to have this urban minor systems. It's not, the colors are terrible, but outside the city as well, in order to create some sort of ecosystem for those people and improve their quality of life. So that's the end. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't use.
Maybe we can have 1 or 2 questions and then take a break.
Is there any strategy being implemented to go where the old people live, to bring them back?
downtown.
To bring young people back.
Well, as a matter of fact, these densification areas, if I go back, some of these densification areas are close to downtown. These are the areas where we want to put all the effort, all the investment. And of course, if you densify this area, we have the theory, and this, it works some other places, that it's expanded, it expands a little bit outside. And the idea is to have high density, a minor urban system inside, and where younger people can live here instead of living here. They can move here, close to where the transportation is, but also where it's visible. Why? Because there is infrastructure. There is enough water, there's enough sewage, there is electricity, public schools, and so on. So try to make more efficient decisions. And if private developers want to develop here, that's their choice. But the public money has to go directed to the areas where that investment is going to create more satisfaction. And this idea as well, as you see, for example, someone lives here and perhaps he works here and lives here. So we create that going up, going down, going up, going down in the system to create more passengers per kilometer. So densification, mixed use, and transport fit together. Yes.
I mean, I understand that these things, okay, in plan they look nice and probably, they will have an effect in 5-10 years, but
30.
yeah. But I mean, from what we heard from Mexico City is that regardless of all these plans, as they move towards more centralized cities and more compact, etc., still like 80% of the budget of the municipality or of the state or the federal budget for mobility goes towards cars.
Yes.
So, I mean, these plans are nice, but if there's no change in this budget allocation, I don't know what will change here either.
Yes.
So, do you see any change in that, or?
That's the role of Consejo Nuevo León. That's the role of Consejo Nuevo León, to make this, to make that happen. Of course,
That's why they need to.
when you deal with cities, it's very good. Nothing is easy. And one of the most important qualities you have to have as a planner is tenacidad. How do you say tenacidad? Tenacity. To be consistency.
Like flags.
And continuity. So we hope that the Consejo Nuevo León will have continuity. And as soon we are educating a new generation of urban planners that I hope are consistent with these goals, and I hope they will have the tenacity because we're getting older. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Again, great.